Hi Sunil,
Hi, Govind. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Superb, man, superb. So,
So,
you said you want to podcast me, so fire away.
yeah, I wanted to know more about you. And since we were into Tribe of Coaches for a very long time, I want to
Mm.
hear from you about what Tribe of Coaches also. So, let's start from you and
Mhm.
who you are as a person, as a coach. So you mentioned how you shifted from your career as an engineer from Bosch into being a life coach. You mentioned how you are an accidental coach.
Mm.
Still, I want to know what was that very moment in your life, in your experience as an engineer, where you thought like, okay, this is done for me completely. I want to move now into a new career as a life coach or maybe something new.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe, if I was an accidental coach, I was also an accidental engineer, if you want to put it that way. Not that I didn't have engineering skills. I think for me, it didn't have a calling as much as a calling coaching did or poetry did. So I entered into poetry while I was getting into engineering or engineering studies is when poetry happened. And then from then on, it's been a journey of poetry first. So I am a poet first who, because of life's many adventures and choices, found engineering as an entry point. I worked as an engineer for about 8 years, but I think my calling was in a much deeper level explored to work with people. And people always have been my forte of ease, comfort, and impact. So that's in a very nutshell how it happened. So people have always been part of what I have been doing, what I've been associated with. Communities have always been a part of things that I have been part of. So even in the tech side, while I was at Bosch, I think I was more famous for the other things that were happening, which was to build a CSR team. So I and a few others with us led a team close to 700 plus volunteers. So that was a huge number, and that was across a 5 year format. We went to different schools. We brought it there. Brought some beautiful smiles to people who are the beneficiaries and also who are all of our volunteers. Many of them first time volunteers, many of them who never knew what a government school looks like, how a bus travel in between, from Bangalore to semi-rural and rural looks like. So it was a fascinating journey, and people have always been part of what I've been interested in doing. And then it so happened it moved towards mentoring, it moves towards facilitation and so. And at some point, me and the organization didn't see eye to eye on certain topics. And I was then involved alongside with my software work. I was involved with policy in the deployment, working on employee wellness, employee engagement, employee experience, and also around sustainability and say how do we build different habits and stuff. So impact and making a change was pretty much on the radar, and accidentally moved into coaching, and I found love at first coaching, and damn, it just made sense because everything was a full circle movement at that point when I first did my first coaching hour. And I knew that I've stumbled onto something that will generate impact and that will be something that I enjoy and I'm aligned to that. And it also gives me time after a point of it being established to do a lot more of my long list of passions: poetry, workshops, podcasts, meeting people, networking, volunteering, NGO work. Yeah, and that can come through with coaching. And the moment I realized that, I think that was it. And I knew I was a natural at coaching, and I got good at it over a period of time. And now I can ask anybody to be my client, right? And I will still feel like yes, I am under no pressure to perform as a coach and be there. And that's what led me to coaching and continues to hold me in great stead in coaching as well.
Okay. Speaking of love at first sight,
Mm.
You mentioned how coaching has become a love at first sight for you.
Yeah,
Even when I mention, if I am speaking about love at first sight, there could be something attractive, like a glow, a glitter, that something that sparks our eye. What
yeah.
sparked your eye about coaching that made you have that love at first sight?
I think it felt so natural because I had felt resistance to engineering during engineering. I had felt resistance towards the software work there. I never felt really comfortable the first 2, 3 years, and after that was a ego trip saying I should make this work for me kind of a thing. And it came from a desire to be a performer, to be noticed, to be, really out there, saying people have to recognize me for that. Coaching, I think, somewhere very, very deeply eliminated all of that, that I did not need to be somebody else. And I did not need to be Sunil as well. Right? I just needed to be that channel, that space, that time, that ease at which I was able to do. I think that was for me like suddenly, like I was floating at in a swimming pool or a water body, wherein everything else felt like the other appendages have been moved away, and there's nothing except the core of who I am. And I think that is what makes me stick to coaching. That was what love at first sight was. It like I knew it's not the glamour part of how much coaching pays. It's not the certifications. It just felt like I belonged here in coaching, and it was an acceptance. It's rather coaching accepting me rather than me accepting coaching. It's been that way. It coaching came to me. It was a gift, and I just took the gift and went in. So it was
Okay.
also love at first sight for possibly coaching with me as well. I think it was that spark and that chemistry that coaching gave. And it added to the value of impact, the added value of meeting people, connecting. All those just settled in at one shot.
Okay, good to hear that. So, after being in the world of coaching, if even when we think about the love at first sight, there will be a reality strike that comes to us after that. What came to you after that, being in the world of coaching?
A lot of reality segments, right? The first word, the coach, the word definition itself comes with so much of different interpretations depending on who you're talking with. The first thing is, oh, what coach are you? Are you a trainer doing something with regards to coaching centers for entrance exams? Are you an IIT coach? Are you an IMB IM coach? Are you a CET coach, a NEET coach, or whatever coach that you're looking for? Are you also a yoga trainer or a skill development coach? You're a speaking coach. So that was its own phase. And second, people, the next question they asked is, "What's your niche?" And I was like, "Oh, don't even get me there." And even now, I say I'm a proudly nicheless coach, and that's something that was its own battle at that point of time. And there were two segments to work with in terms of how do I get well as a coach, in terms of the skill set, how do I not become a mentor in a session, and that was a journey in its own. And also how to set up a business. I think that business segment was it's in itself another different segment of challenge altogether. And also to my own aspects of it, because I kept seeing. I know this is a very very visually interesting example that people with no hair or people with white hair were typically coaches that others had seen. And how can somebody at, say, when I quit, I was 30 years old. Right? So, how can somebody at 30 with a career in a multinational organization suddenly decide to switch and move into this? I think I was a surprise package for many people and say, how can something like this exist? You say you're a young coach, you are no niche, you have no extensive history of working with CEOs, you say you're a leader, where are you with this? And I think I found that journey of mine wherein I've stuck to my guns and saying this is who I am. And people have come back, people have come again and again, people have sent referrals. And I think that's how the journey has been. And I hope I've completely answered your question or given you more questions to ask. I don't know.
Yes, yes, you have given me more pointers. or trajectories, tangents that I need to explore. Speaking of nicheless, being nicheless, when I was learning coaching, I think during the day two of my training itself, they were portraying about different types of niches that we need to choose and how that is what we need in the very beginning. How do you feel like? How do you feel being nicheless? What is your experience with it? What do you say to other coaches who wishes to uh, explore their career as a life coach during that initial phase? Should they go nicheless or should they select a niche?
I'm not saying niches is bad, right? Or niche is not to be done. I am saying niche doesn't work for me. So every coach has to discover what they will need, whether they are going to go in a niche category, what is a non-niche category, and even the definition, right? So what is a niche versus what is a target audience? A target audience could be people who are in the IT sector, 35 to 45 years age group. Within that, there is again a health sector, there's a wellness sector, there's a leadership sector, there's a career change sector, there's a menopausal sector, there's a segment around retirement sector, pre-retirement sector. So what you are doing is in a way a positioning segment to say, hey, I will position myself in this way. These are my target audience, and therefore they become my niche. And this is coming from an assumption that people will Google you and come to you, or people will search for you on different segments and say you will be the first person who will look at it. So, do you think that somebody is going to look at, find out something as interesting and as niche as, say, coaching through a space of Google search? And if so, because there are so many coaches, how will you stand out? So it is a differentiating factor when you say only work with women in 30s who are looking to break the glass ceiling, or women in 40s. I want to look at solopreneurs only. I want to look at CEOs only. I want to look at divorced CEOs who are looking to work with their second daughter who has ADHD. So you have your pick at it, right? So it's just that does the audience resonate with you? And ask any coach to promise on their head and say, hey, will you not accept people who are coming outside of your niche? They will say, we love business, we will accept that. It's just that it's a way of creating a aura about you that this person, I need to go for this. That's what the niche is all about. So the subject matter expertise, the mentoring, the consulting is where the niche is very important, right? But with coaching, especially the ICF segment of coaching and the ICF definition of coaching being non-directive, being completely allowing the holding space for the client, non-judgmental, client, has complete agency and stuff. We are asking questions rather than providing answers. When I'm asking questions relevant to the situation you have brought in, everything else is irrelevant. The niche conversation becomes only relevant as to how do you get people there. And my deal is that I am a person who connects with people first. And people chose to work with me, and that's why it's Nimma Coach. And Nimma Coach in Kannada basically translates to your coach. So that's the deal. I chose to have it like that. And if somebody wants to go on a niche, by all means, if your audience is able to resonate with you, a niche is working. If you have a niche and your audience is not able to resonate with you, no use of being in that space. And not all niches are great in terms of payment segments, right? So you say I'm going to coach, NGO leaders or NGO founders. Well, like okay, then also they're looking at it ROI revenue wise. You're now looking at it from a very cold, calculated segment, not passionate segment. If you're doing it for passion, it's a different ballgame. So, are you doing it for revenue? Are you doing it for profit? Are you doing it for passion? Are you doing it for impact? Everything will determine what your niche is. Niche is not bad, but then you don't have to pressure yourself initially as a coach to say, hey, you know what, this is my niche. That pressure is the big problem because it's like as soon as you enter into it, you're like, okay, tell me where you are. It's like for a lack of a better analogy, you're getting into a Harry Potter world, and there's no sorting hat to say you're Gryffindor, you're Slytherin, or you're whatever. And you'll have to figure out which of the thousands of niche and the lakhs of niche that are there. You need to figure out what. And if you say I am a career coach, there are thousands of career coaches. I am a leadership coach, there are thousands of leadership coaches. Executive coach, thousands of executive coaches. ADHD coach, I think possibly lesser, but yes. So what differentiates you in that segment is what's being looked at. And if you're able to differentiate yourself in that segment without having a strict niche, then what's stopping you? So I am very passionate about the whole niche versus no niche kind of a thing. I believe that my personality and my value systems, who I am as a person, I think that's what gets my clients to, that's what gets me people to connect with over a period of time because they trust me, they trust that I am a good coach and I am a good coach. They come to me saying, Sunil, I think I need coaching now. And it's a very long partnership that comes. And then because they've had a great experience through coaching, and they personally have been able to sort of get more awareness, find accountability, do actions that will change them from point A to point B. And in that interim have moved in the what areas, in the who areas, and in the identity areas or whatever, and there is that they want to move in. They are now becoming my secondary and tertiary marketing sources to say, you know what, I think I had a similar problem like you had or you're having, and this is what worked for me. Why don't you have a chat with Sunil? And when I have a chat, there's no obligation with them to say, hey, you need to come to me for paid client hours. The conversation happens first, the rapport gets built, and over a period of time, clients come. Not all coaches are ready for something like that because they've invested heavy amount of money into coaching. They want to see ROI yesterday, not today, not tomorrow. They want to see ROI yesterday. And that rush is what makes a lot of them crash and burn.
Okay. So in between, you mentioned about your brand, NimmaCoach. Even I can see that in your name, Sunil Satyendra NimmaCoach. How did you come up with that brand name?
This is another thing that coaches struggle with, right? What's your brand name? What's your branding? What's your company's name? What's the logo that you have to build? I think for me, I understood very early on that if you look at your mom's an excellent cook, and sometimes say your dad's into something else and they're excellent at that. They have no certification, no credentialing, nothing that they're really good. They're still good at it. But then they've had a journey of skilling, right? So whether we call them a chef, a master chef, or nothing at all, they are still doing their work there. So my job initially was to get good at coaching and not be bothered about what my name is, what my niche is, do I have a website? After 4 years of coaching and mentoring more than 40 people to look at ICF skill sets better, and quite a lot into credentialing, and maybe more than 400 plus people who I've worked with as clients. I never had a need for the website because people found me through different means. And NimmaCoach has a slightly back history to it, saying I was part of Bosch and I was part of the corporate. I was there in that identity as Sunil and not as a software engineer or as something else. And Sunil had multiple roles and multiple interests, so sustainability being one of them, podcasting being another, networking, volunteering, passionate rebel, so many other identities. And I got to know people through multiple identities that I had or multiple aspects of who I was because that were commonalities between me and them. And when I said, look, I need help with my coaching hours, would you be open to volunteer as a client and pay me whatever is working for you? It could be a book, it could be a coffee, it could be something, as a artwork or maybe even monetary revenue. They were game for it. And they were game because Sunil's our friend. And Sunil is somebody we know. And that's, if I look back at history, if I've sold my books, if I put my podcast together, if I've, got into LinkedIn branding as a segmentation, the thought always has been that Sunil is somebody we know. And therefore he's our family, our this thing. And in Kannada we say Namurka. That means he's our family, he's in our circle kind of a thing. And that's always got me in Bosch because it was when I sold my books, it was not because I was an engineer, I was a manager, and somebody was looking up to me to deliver something. They wanted me to because there was that level of connection. And people sometimes donated because it was Sunil that was leading the cause. And if Sunil is doing it, they trusted that, and that trust came as a package into everything else. And what else is there that says Nimma coach, that I'm your coach, that talks about trust as an entity? And that's how it evolved. And I think, yeah, just like I'm your coach, that's it. Whose coach are you? I'm your coach. Irrespective whether it's career, it's in terms of branding, it could be in terms of this. So, because behavioral aspects or the deeper internal aspects of who you are could be many things, but then if Sunil is with you, that's it done. And so then slowly it also moved into I coach other coaches, I coach people, then I coach, solopreneurs. They're all people who I already know. And I'm a natural networker. So the number of people I keep meeting is a plus always. It's never in the negative segment. So I keep meeting new people. And over a period of time, they discover who I am and they discover what I do and they discover who I am first, and therefore I am already a friend, and that's how Nimma Coach went in. And also in this journey, I discovered that I can coach in three different languages, or I have that space within me saying I can coach in Hindi, I can coach in Kannada, and I can coach in English. Hindi because I've studied and I can speak, and Kannada because it's my mother tongue and I'm very deeply passionate about the language as such. And English because English has been a communication language for a very, very long time. And nothing makes it more as a Kannadiga and as a Bangalorean to say Nimma coach. So it comes also with roots, it also comes with trust, it also comes with the identity that, I'm your friend, your best friend, your cousin, your buddy kind of a space. And just that took off. I think Nimma Coach became that, and I didn't see anybody else getting into this category. And I was possibly in this segment one of the only ones who said, "No, I don't want to work with a niche. I want to figure out what works for me." And I did have a few coaching conversations around it, and I really, really strongly decided niche was not my game. And if so, I would have 20-25 niches, and that's still not great for business. So might as well not bother about it. That's how branding became NimmaCoach, and I don't mind if it's anybody everywhere anywhere in the world can be my client. And the only distinction right now in making it a business decision is can they pay for it. And if not, then can it be run as a project where we can offer that as contribution rather than as revenue. So anybody and everybody who's open to coaching, I think I'm happy to coach, and therefore it also adds another layer to my coach.
Between you mentioned about coaching in different languages. You are able to coach in Hindi, Kannada, English. When I learned even I think most of the coaches, when they learn, there is a specific template, maybe a set of questionnaires. And when
Mm.
it comes to practicing in that local language, they find it difficult to do that. For example, how does that make you feel? If we directly translate that into the local language, it is something that will look
Yeah.
absurd. How do you do that?
Uh, Good question. It's a loaded question in many, many ways, right? So I started experimenting with it, and I very soon realized that what would you like to talk about today versus what makes this important to you? Who are you when you are doing this? What's holding you back? They cannot be translated Google or like a ChatGPT translation to say, hey, exactly verbatim you talked about it. This is an experiment that I knew that makes it interesting. And even across India and maybe across the world right now, not everybody is fluent in English, right? What if the impact wise, right? So if I'm able to take coaching to a remote school in deep interior Karnataka, Kannada is the language that they are working with. And possibly someone else can take it into deep into, Gujarat, where somebody is talking only about Gujarat, only in Gujarati, and English is not their comfortable communication language. And if you are able to make the client comfortable with you, trust safety is an automatic. right? So then active listening becomes easier because I am telling you a slang that's uniquely Indian. You will obviously get it. I am also telling you a slang in that language that is known to only that. Then it's a different ballgame altogether. The ease at which somebody is able to connect to you is another ballgame, and it takes coaching beyond the elitism of saying, "Oh, we only work with executive coaching." Coaching has to give us thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars in return. Can coaching really make an impact with somebody that really needs it? In a language where they understand. What's greater client autonomy than talking in the language of the client? That the language is linguistic as well as metaphorical language of what the client is talking about. So that is one thing that I really enjoyed. And me being a Kannada guy, for me it was very easy to say, hey, can I take this to my language? Can I make Kannada richer with coaching and also coaching richer with Kannada? And that is how the conversation started. And it is very difficult to ask, saying, "Hey, who are you as a coach or as a client when you talk about it?" And some of them will not even respond to that because it's too a bouncer a question to them. So, how can you make it simplified that still is an open-ended question? It still is not getting into judgmental category. Still is not making them feel unsafe in a conversation. So, what makes them open up to you? All of these are nuances you will have to figure out. It's a dance that you're doing, and it's a dance versus doing it in English or doing it in your lyrics is in a local language. So you are able to understand, move well with the client, and the client is also able to talk in a language they prefer sharing, and therefore they are themselves far more than needing to know a certain language to make sure that they're getting access to coaching. It's also a part of being accessible to the common man and to the this thing, and also Nimma coach, common man's coach, right? So that's also a branding segment there, and that just became a part of it. And then I also, now that Kannada was working out, I was like, can we try Hindi? And Hindi could give us general access into heartland across different parts of India. And a lot of them have Hindi and another language as part of their learning. And that commonality, can that be introduced to make people saying, hey, you know what, Sunil is my guy? That's how language came into play. And I'm sure if I now start talking in Malayalam, the conversation is going to be entirely different than now when we talk in English. So that is what is you're able to crack through language.
So, have you had any experience like um, you mentioned how you are having international clients or people from different ethnicity, different areas? Is there any experience with people who was having a different accent and you were having difficulty with communicate with them once you started the coaching?
I think that is there. I think I still have that with certain accents. Some are very heavy, like for my ears to pick it up, it takes some time. So it's a process. It's a running process. But the conversation from a coaching point of view was absolutely get as many diverse experiences as possible in your first 100 hours. Get in your 500 hours. So I started to peer coach with coaches across the globe, and sometimes some of my words didn't land on them, and they were telling me some of those other words and it didn't land on me. I'm not sure what it means, so I was curious to say I didn't understand that, and then from an understanding need for understanding, it moved to saying, I heard you share this, what does it mean for you? So it had its own transitions there in terms of understanding people, different cultures, different spaces. And what also was there that we were different, but then at another same thread we were still same. So it had that sort of a dichotomy there that we are different but yet we're same. And that same space for in terms of values, in terms of emotion, in terms of how we sort of work with experiences. But that was the interesting part of working with people from different cultures. And I've struggled with certain accents. I've struggled with people, sometimes both male, sometimes female, in terms of understanding the speed at which they're sharing. Sometimes because I am a person who loves moving faster. Some of their initially segments were like if somebody is slow and they're talking, I used to feel like it's a difficult thing to work with people who talk slowly. There's a lot of such understandings that were coming day in and day out, as and when I worked with that. And what helped me sort of get to people is, can I still read them with beyond the accent? And there were some calls that happened with people only on the phone because there were internet issues at their space, and I couldn't see them. But effectiveness of what coaching as a framework was, coaching as a process was, and their output still didn't really change. So it became a switch point to say, hey, can I go beyond what the tonality of a conversation is? Can I look at more beyond that? And there were things I didn't understand. There was one session in which I very strongly remember that it's for, because you are a passionate driver. It is driving in a highway without headlights, relying on the vehicle next to you and behind you to give you lights. Um, for that, because I just for the love of God could not understand what he was sharing, except for tidbits of words here and there, and these were brought to his attention, saying, "Hey, I heard you talk about this. What do you feel? How are you feeling?" And also, it ran on the energy of the client, the body language of the client, even though I knew it was English, but it was not in a way that my ears could differentiate when the client had ended and when the client was talking the next word. So for that one full session, I ran like I'm sandwiched between two vehicles with floodlights or headlights, and my headlights are gone. So I was relying on other senses of visual or auditory was gone, visual and say in terms of what it made me feel, kinesthetic segments, and also in terms of instinct saying, okay, this is what is sharing. So that listening part was deeper than accent, deeper than verbal as such. So it helped me sort of understand that there's more, and they were again thickness of the accent made it difficult to when are they stopping, when are they continuing, when to pause, when not to pause. So all of these are on the field work, and on the field work is where I think I've had my greatest learning has been on the field, and my gurus have given me a list of, I think, 30, 40 books in, say, maybe the 125 plus hours that I have been part of coaching. I haven't read a single book. My learnings have been on the field. So that's it's a longish answer to what you asked, and it covered many other things, but yeah.
So, since your gurus have mentioned 30, 40 plus books, what do you think would have happened if you have gone through those books versus your experience now in the field, getting the experience?
It's a difference between, say, possible formal training to this. Right? I've given you a recipe, I've given you a concept versus actually executing it on the ground. There are two different ballgames. Um, so it says, so the competency says, coach is able to manage client strong emotions. And this is one of the core competencies in the this thing. I'm not sure maintains presence or listens actively. I think either of those two segments it is there. So the invisible part of the coaching. Now, at what time do I know that, okay, should I give a kerchief? Should I give a this thing? Should I maintain silence? At what time do I ask a question? Not ask a question is on the field experience. That will not come in a book. That will not come in something that can be summarized in one word. This is felt, lived, experienced. And therefore, I am, I usually ask someone else who's read the book, who are passionate readers, to give me a lowdown on what the book is all about. But if you ask me to read articles, if you ask me to read blogs, and if you ask me to look at multiple books, I'd say, oh, And what would have happened is, yeah, God only knows what would have happened. Would it have made me a better coach alongside working on the field? Yes. And would it have been not much of a difference as well? Yes. So it's a yes on both sides. Because when I ask people to share their experience of what they've learned in the coaching session from the book, to some extent, I am able to find that I've applied that without having conscious knowledge of some of the concepts that have been applied. right? So I remember certain aspects wherein people are like, oh, this is art therapy, oh, this is NLP, oh, this is CBT, oh, this is something else. And for me, they had come as instinctual methods or instinctual questions in that space. So that is something that on the field emergence, all that is something that I bring into the equation for myself, and therefore for me it didn't really have an appeal to look at it. And I'm a fiction guy. Give me a fiction book, 30,000 pages, I'll read that within 2 days. Give me a 5-page book that's non-fiction, I will find thousand other excuses to not read the book. So I am that way. So I've designed my space of saying who I am and what works for me. And books reading, I'm like not the greatest of fans. Concept, if I understand, I'm like, yeah, fantastic. If somebody can tell me the concept of what it is and the nuance of it, yeah, I think I'm very happy with that. So if I'd learned that aspect through reading the book, maybe it would have it can still make me a better coach trainer because others may need the book, right? So that's the understanding there, and that's the learning from that. So yeah, that's about the books. But any day, I would still ask people to look at on the field experience. This is watching a military movie and being on the field. So there's a huge difference in that.
So if you are a coach trainer at some point, would you give recommendation to your students to read the couple of books, or would you ask them to have the field experience only?
I'd say both, because again, when I'm looking at it from a trainer's lens, I'll have to look at who my trainee is, right? So, not all people have the same way of learning. Some are visual, some are auditory, some are kinesthetic, some respond to you very quickly, some take their own time, some ask questions, some people don't have questions, some people have completely zoned out because it's not relating to them. So how do you relate to each individual becomes a very different ball game. So at that point, yes, and maybe at that point I will also have some jugaad method to make them read the book, and maybe they can come share their learnings and share their experience, and maybe I will also read or I'll look at a audio podcast around the book, and that's a lot more easier for me. So I would then look at solutioning that side of that, because then it becomes important for me to address it well, and therefore it becomes urgent and important at that point. Otherwise, it is important but not urgent. So, coaches do have spaces where they still, choose not to take a certain choice. So for me, this is around that book. So I would definitely recommend books if it helps them read. I would also recommend on the field work as much as I recommend reading.
So, understanding about life coaching, I want to come back to a question around coaching itself. So, you mentioned how coaching is about asking the questions to help people figure out the answers by themselves. People in the coaching community might know about the structure, how it is. For a new person, I think you might have that experience. You have the experience. Even I have the experience. We go do a session and we ask the question, and we go keep on asking the question to get help the client get the clarity, and they come back to the question, come back to asking, okay, I came for an answer from you. How does that feel for you? How would you have reacted getting a question like that?
How would I have reacted? I'll answer that. How will I react? I'll answer later. Right. So, coach in me or the mentor in me is like, going, this is a double question in the same question, right? So, how was I reacting initially, and for initial entry point for coaches who are getting into, say, non-peer coaching and sometimes even peer coaching? A client is a client, right? So, client can say, hey, you know what, I want to help you find me a solution. You are the one who has the right questions. You should ask that. It's your headache to figure out. So it takes a little bit of two-pronged approach. One, in the session at that point of time. Second, in terms of how you have started coaching them in the first place. What's your chemistry conversation like? What is the explanation that you've given in terms of coaching? Have you had that experience where the client understands what coaching is and what coaching isn't? And sometimes they would have nodded their head. They still come to the session and they'll, at that place where it's effort taking a lot of effort for them to even think they want an immediate solution. That's a little bit of a tricky conversation, and that's where I have evolved to say, put it back to the client, saying if I did give an advice and you listen to it, what would make you surprised about it? That is a different question to ask. So some of them say, hey, if you are giving an advice to yourself, what would it be? And if, what would, if I did share something that would work for you, what will you accept and what will you not? So still, it's a gentler way to navigate yourself as a coach, where you're not jumping in and sharing your point of view. And sometimes there are places where you don't have a point of view because it's not your area of expertise in your area of work. So that's where it is there, and more time you spend and the more effort you spend into coaching and the more on the ground work that you're doing, this on this nimble feet which you have in the coaching space helps you more to stay present, stay coach like, and also to work with things like this. And now, how do I react? I know that this is a process. I know that the client is new, and therefore there's a lot more silence. There's a lot more space wherein time spent in helping the client understand that we're not here for immediate answers. And if that is what they are, and if it's under my radar, then it's a different contract. The contract itself with them is that I'm a consultant or I'm a mentor. I'm not going there as a coach. So I have a clear boundary or a segmentation space saying, hey, in this is what you get. And sometimes people come to me for consultation. They end up over a period of time taking consultation, then getting mentored, and at some point realize that, yeah, I think what we now have is a coaching conversation. And therefore, they know that this is coaching, this is mentoring, and this is consulting, or the other way around. And they at that time are very clear saying, here, this is what is the boundaries. And anything outside of that, even beyond the session, will not be entertained in the coaching point of view. So that clarity with you and the client is very, very important. And that's how I now do it. And I also am under no pressure to deliver to the client because I know the process works. There may be sessions where nothing moves, but a lot would have moved from session 1 to session 2, and a lot would have moved from session 1 to 3, and even 2 to 3. And I trust that process. And therefore, there is no need internally to say, I need to ask the right question. I need to, perform. This client will not come to me without, if I don't ask this question. I think that pressures are off. I think that's on the field experience. And that's also why I say I'm a good coach, because I'm like, I know my way around coaching, and my skill set and my acknowledgement of my skill set for myself has got nothing to do with how much money a client will pay to work with me. So I know I'm good. That space that I'm maintaining, that listening, that aspect of trust, safety, etc., comes with me as a person. And coaching as a framework, coaching as an overall packaging, the way we do it. Anyways, the coaching works. And I'm just a person enabling that segment. So it's definitely changed the way I look at coaching other people as such.
You mentioned in between about good coach, and there was something that goes into my mind about getting the certificate because versus there are people who doesn't have the certificate also who are good at their craft. Um, so if I ask you now, good coach versus certified coach, what would be your answer?
So I don't know if it's a versus thing, right? So I can be a damn good coach, and I could be a coach in cricket, I could be a coach in football, I could be a coach in handwriting, I could be a coach in yoga, I could be a coach in business, and have nothing to do with ICF, EMCC, and any of your credentialing bodies. And I could learn NLP, I could learn CBT, I could learn TA, I could learn hundreds of other modalities there, and I could do that. So the good coach is a very big space to say I'm skilled at it. I know how to respond in terms of working with you as a person. And for me, the good also comes from that place that it comes from values, it comes from ethics, it comes from integrity, it comes from contribution and value addition. For the value that you're giving, you're accepting a revenue exchange or any exchanges that matter. That's ethical and that's legal. So that's a good coach definition. A certified coach is like some of these conversations I've had. So I like when I went to my engineering interview, I had the certificate of having a gold medalist in having a gold medal for tug of war winning. I was the part of the team that won the tug of war. Do you think it had any impact on what I was doing in terms of getting into an organization? No. Certification is that I've come there and I've been certified. Now with Canva and other applications that are involved, making a certificate is no big deal. Virtual certification is no big deal. In fact, there are courses wherein you can become a life coach in 10 hours. You can become a life coach in 15 hours. And you can become a coach in 15 hours. You can be certified. Somebody is giving you a certified certification. Somebody also is giving you a certification from a credentialed body that has great standards, like ICF for that example. Does that mean just because I have an ICF, ACC, PCC, or an MCC, or ACTC, now MCS, bars that this, that I've actually spent time in there to make that work? Now, with 100 hours for a lot of people is 100 hours of easy peer coaching or something else. But if somebody is taken to 100 hours of meaningful coaching versus of doing it for 100 hours as a mandatory requirement, there's a difference in attitude in which the coach goes into it. If the coach goes into it that says, what may my skill set is important, and even if I apply for an ACC at 150 hours or 200 hours, I'm still going to do it because my skill set is important to me. That's a good and a credentialed and a certified coach. But a certified coach is not always good. So it's a many shades of many colors. You can't put a space to it and say, okay, credential, and therefore it makes well. So I was what do I say, certified engineer after 4 years of working in engineering. Did I dare call myself a good software engineer until 4 years? No. Call it imposter, call it whatever, but that is the reality of it. So that is the thing. Credentialed coaches versus good coaches versus coaches who are making money after being good and being credentialed. So it's an and. So you could be a good coach, you could be an absolutely crazy credentialed coach, you could have all the things in the world, but then the business side of it is another whole new ballgame. Right? You could be fantastic at your technical side of it, but if you're not good at other sides of it, you add two problems there. That's the biggest take in from that side of that. So I've taken on a tangent in terms of good coach and a credentialed coach, but then this is my answer. And there's no versus. It's a good and credentials, sometimes credentials and not so good. There are every combination possible.
Okay. So, have you ever had an experience with a person who is certified or credentialed into such a level that the person is not so good?
So I have to wear many hats to this answer this. So answering it as a client who knows what coaching is, and I've had a bad experience when I was a peer coach. Absolutely yes. Have I had experiences, listened experiences, felt experiences, and sometimes experienced experiences of people with higher credentials acting definitely as humans, not in any way near to the standards that is held by that credential and the ethics of that credential and the standards that they define at that credential. Yes, I've had people move out of that. Have I had people who are credentialed coaches who've been not great coaches? Yes. Um, can I also look at it from a space that some coaches can have a bad day and they could have a bad coaching session wherein they were off radar, they were off color, they were off, in some way or the other, they were not there, really there. Yes. Do I see coaches who are credentialed and still see a long way to really embody that credential? Yes. It's a whole new ballgame there. I've had people really give me some scare in terms of how they have responded in terms of almost nearer to PCC, right? It's an experience that I share of somebody who was peer coaching me at about 480 hours in there, this thing, and I just finished my 500 hours, and we were, just on that. closure segment. I just put my Calendly. They had put this thing, and I remember asking myself, look, I'm trying to figure out how many different ways can I make my resume, and what's the best way to make this one. I want it to be creative. I want it to be artsy. I want it to be, who I am. It has to be Zara Hatke. It has to be visual, and I'm trying to find out what exactly is the essence I'm trying to get to the session. So that was the thing that I came into the session with. The coach on the other side asked me to open my resume and went into consulting mode and said, Sunil, I think this color is not right. I'm a yellow kind of a guy, you know that. Yellow is not working. I think yellow is not good. Put black and white. Picture, not required that you have a picture. I have worked with thousands of resumes so far. I don't think it's cutting this thing. You need to change this, you need to change that, blah, 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 blah. There's nothing as contract. Like the contract was very flawed. There was nothing where I was reflecting. And there was absolutely no question as to what is my takeaway. It was all decided for me. And this was that person's 480 hours of experience. And I'm not judging. It could have been a session where they have gotten too carried away because they knew me as a person, and they were trying to sort of help me, really saying, hey Sunil, I know you're struggling, but I think I can help you better. But I think I felt that was way off radar. And sometimes I've had coaches bring something that they were experiencing, and I was some sort of a placebo in that conversation. They had a bad experience with somebody who looks like me, or somebody who does the same work that I do, some previous experience of mine. They were like, why are you guys like this? You shouldn't be like that. So it became a bashing session to people who look like me or who are like me. I don't know if that racist, whatever you call it, I don't know if the right word for it. But I had one session, I never went back to that coach again. I've had that. So people coming 15 minutes late to a call and wanting to do a conversation in the next 15 minutes and call it as coaching. And I've said, no, it's not going to work. Somebody gave me 1 hour, and I am usually a person who looks to build that rapport and see. And she's like, okay, half an hour, now that you have spoken to me and that your need, coach, is done, we will take that half an hour off. I need this half an hour for myself, so I want you to be my client. She didn't introduce herself. That was the legends that I've met. And does that make me think bad of coaches, or cautious of coaches? No, that's who they are. I think that's a level of acceptance that you come with. And you come with, okay, these are not my clients. These are not my kind of people. And they could be excellent for somebody else. And that's what differentiates a good coach also. For the client, they may be the best coach, but they may not be credentialed, they may not follow the process, they may not have active segments that say a credentialing body will look at it. And now also, right, after you've done your ACC, after you've done your PCC, after you've done your MCC, is there any mechanism where you get tested? Are you really continuing to do that in the same way? I don't see an active way that it's getting tested. There is more to be done around that process.
So you mentioned about the credentialing bodies. There's a lot of credentialing bodies, ICF, EMCC, Association of Coaches, APAC. So, what is your view on this? Having different coaching bodies, credentialing bodies. What's the importance of these associations?
Yeah, I can tell you about ICF. This AMCC, I've heard of it. The rest of them are sometimes very new, and I am also somebody whose experience of coaching is also getting added as and when people come up to me. As somebody I know who I was sort of mentoring and getting into driver coaches, she had said, look, I think we need to explain a number of questions. These are important questions that you should know of. And none of these important questions that my coach trainer has given me were asked in this session. How come this can be a good session? I've had that experience as well. Right? The credentialing body and a credentialing mindset to bring some uniformity in the way coaching is done, and to have a governing body that says yes, and now this is your minimum level of skill set. This is level 1, level 2, level 3, whatever, level 5, level 10. That is very important to have, because it's anybody who knows biology cannot become a doctor, and there needs to be something that puts them through a rigorous process of learning, unlearning, relearning, and that certificate needs to mean something in the external world, and therefore credentialing bodies are important. But what is very important for a coach to understand is what is the right credentialing body for me. I think that's the research part where quite a lot of them falter. So, am I a AMCC's mentoring and coaching council? Am I going to use coaching and mentoring in the same segment? Am I going to stick with this? Am I going to be looking at consulting, or am I going to be looking at a tool and say I'm a coach? Right. So there is a lot of that in terms of credentialing, certification, and different bodies. Different bodies exist, I think, to provide variety, to provide diversity, and stuff like that. But I think the need for it is pretty high, and need for stricter segments of it being put in there is far more important than on the paper saying that hey, we are whatever number of coaches, whatever is the standard that we're working with, but are we really making sure that these people who come in stay with that thought process and mindset? That's a different ballgame, but it is required. And also it has now become a money minting machine in many places, right? So that's also the truth of it.
Talking about money minting machines, there is something else that came to my mind about the coaches being utilized. So there was this conversation that happened a long time back with someone who was uh, just graduated or completed their professional uh, training as a life coach. So the thing was, the person was not getting any clients during the initial days and was going through some financial struggles, as these people have invested a lot in this profession. And there are people who just promote themselves or promote these other people saying like, okay, I am going to help you make 1 crore within the next 1 or 2 months. You are going to do this, you are going to do this, and I will somehow make you in that high category. What is your view on these people?
Yeah.
How should people look into this?
Right. So I'll give a more different angle to it, different vantage point to it. See, there's a difference between coaching business and the business of training people to become a coaches. The aspect of building your own coaching business is a 3 to 4 year job, like anything, any new job that you're getting into. Now, anybody who's sold the idea that tomorrow you'll become a famous coach, you'll become a credentialed coach, you'll become a coach that gets business, is being fooled into the ecosystem. What also gets people to get into, say, even if, for example, AMCC, ICF, etc., that they've been one of the clients first. They've seen the power of coaching, and they'll come into it. Very clearly, the Coach Training Institute is only telling them that, hey, they will give you the skill set of what coaching is. There's hardly anywhere where they're saying, hey, we'll help you teach the business. Right? So that's another different ballgame. And there are people who are preying on these coaches to say, hey, you know what, you're a coach, you're a trainer, you're a healer, you're a, whatever that you're doing. We'll help you, we'll get a framework for you. They are, it's a pyramid scheme, basically like that. Out of, say, 50,000 people that you've given that reference to or that framework to, there'll be at least 100 people would have made tons of money. You will use that and you'll showcase and say, oh, you know what, these are the number of people that made it. And this is like all your coaching centers, your traditional coaching centers saying, our student got first rank. My school would not even, look at me while I was in the school. But suddenly, if I get the first rank, they'll put it on the paper very proudly saying XYZ school's student got the first rank somewhere else. Right? So whether they were part of that alumni or not, or somewhere along the line they learned something, does not mean that they were the ones who actually got them there. And this is business, this is storytelling, and this is also creating that fake illusion that coaching has great money. Coaching has definitely great money, but it's not going to start today, it's not going to start tomorrow. Give yourself that time, put investment in that place, saying, you're putting in. Coaches tell me, saying, look, Sunil, I need to look on my website, I need to look on my mentoring, I need to look on my credentialing, I need to look on this. Yes. But what was not known to you was all these shadowy prices that you had to pay to get yourself to a credential and maintain that credential and keep going in multiple aspects to keep enabling that. That was not known to you. And that is where a lot of coaches struggle. And every 2 days, 3 days, some coach calls me and says, Sunil, I want to quit my full-time job. What's your thought process on this? I asked them, are you asking me as Sunil the person, Sunil the coach, Sunil the mentor, and Sunil the consultant? Uh, and or Sunil your friend? All five different answers and different thought processes. And if you're asking me Sunil the friend and Sunil the person, the answer is don't jump. If you're asking a Sunil the consultant, you are just coming to Sunil and saying Sunil is sensing a business opportunity there. Say okay, I will do that for you. Right. So that's the deal. There is that a lot of them don't understand that there is a different skill set required for what we call as the business side of coaching and for what is the skill set side of coaching. There are a lot of people who assume that okay, this is an investment and this is it. And a lot of them have short-term thinking, right? And that's also not helped by hype of how much somebody else is making. And now, if I am taking even say a 60-70 coach example in one of the chapters, one of the ICF chapters, there's one coach, 20, 25 years of experience. There's another coach who's say 2 years of experience. They charge obviously differently. And now if you take an average of the 60 people in that, it will definitely be an average in between the lowest and in between the highest. That does not mean that every coach is going to get the same amount of money. But the branding that somebody will use that is that, oh, this is the amount of money that you'll be able to make coaching. You could come and do it in a single day, but you could also take another 3 years, 4 years to that. And that you're blind to. And you're flying in blind to that and saying, oh, yes, I experienced coaching, I'll also become a damn good coach. Sales is a different ballgame. Right, and not that there is that, and see, there's no so for example, core competency is like a syllabus book, and different coach training organizations can write different textbooks for the same syllabus. We have all studied engineering, so we'll know there's a foreign author book, there is a local author book, there is a Xerox shop end of the segment deal. So because of the freedom at which anybody can teach, provided the competency segment is maintained, there are a lot of people who choose to coach people in a way that is not complete in that segment. But it is a basic tick mark. Basic tick marks are ticked off. But then they're not enabling them to be making that. So they are just in the business pipeline of getting more and more coaches and not really getting proper guidance towards credentialing. And therefore, it is a different ballgame there in terms of exploitation segment. Second, where there is, we have a movie called Gauri Ganesha. In that, the main character is a person who sort of fools, pranks people around, and he says at the end of that, saying, "Until when there are people who are getting fooled, there are always going to be people who will make fool of you." And if somebody tells you tomorrow you're going to be a crorepati, your first thought is going to be like, "Really? That's a scam." But then you go deep into it because you're like, oh, okay, there's a level 1, there's a level 2, there's a level 3. Okay, pay 99 rupees for the first one, pay 4,000 rupees for the first one, second one, pay 50,000 or 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs for the second one. You're pulled into a pyramid scheme. The moment you don't realize that, you're gotten into a fix. The moment you realize that, there are other methods that will take you time, but that's your journey to come up with. I can give you the blueprint because of the number of people I've listened to saying I'll give you a blueprint. And initially, I used to entertain some of these phone calls and messages saying I will help you get 1 crore. Now I accept their LinkedIn posts because one more follower will be added to my this thing. And when they respond, I say thanks, but no thanks. I keep it very simple, but I don't respond to that conversation. So you will have to choose, and that choosing, that depth, that maturity will come when you get into a new relationship. It's also like an arranged marriage thing. You've gotten into this, and maybe an arranged love marriage. You love the person, but now you have to start loving the family. You have to start loving, this. You have to start going on weekends to someone else who don't even know, and possibly your husband or wife also knew them 25 years in childhood, but you have to go because they were your parents' neighbors and they know you from 25 years ago. You will have to go along with your plus one while you had a good cricket match to watch or the football match to watch. Priorities will have to change. You didn't sign up for this. This is a hidden segment of arranged love marriage or arranged marriages. So it's a choice that many make, and you also know at some point you can choose saying, "Have learned the aspect of concept of coaching. I don't need to be a credentialed coach. I have done the credentialing, but I don't think I'll need renewal because I don't align with this anymore." Or I am aligning with purely because of the money I'm getting. It's a choice after some point of time. And I think some of the coaches who've gone through scammy coaching centers, or coaching centers who left them halfway dry, have been the trigger for tribe of coaches in some way or the other.
So, introducing that word, tribe of coaches. We are part of this community, tribe of coaches. Right now, it's around 350 members in total, and doing consistent program every Monday. So, what inspired you to start the tribe of coaches?
I think see, I was a young coach, and then I had left my job and gotten into it full time. So I was trying to get to a place where, without spending too much money, with being consistent and learning and absorbing, is there a place where I can get maximum learning with the minimum expenditure? Anybody's requirement. I didn't see any place like that. Either the expenditure was a sort of a space where, like, oh, you are the boss, you are the greatest, you are the god kind of a segment, or I needed to pay membership fees and then more chapter fees to be a part of those circles, or there were only alumni segments. So I'm from this coaching institution. There's only something like, there was nothing that was large scale. And I was also part of a lot of peer coaching groups that said, oh, we have 400 people, 600 people, 800 people. There's a Facebook group with multiple thousands people. But when I go out there, when I put a message, will that reach the entirety of it? That was a question mark. So people come, stay for the peer coaching, and they leave. There was nothing that was a community driven segment, nothing that was long term. And for the longest time, I said no. That this is not my cup of tea, and this is not my monkey to work with. So, not my monkey, not my circus was something that I kept on telling for the first 1 year. And my 1 year of coaching gave me 500 hours and close to almost like 1,000 hours of actual experience, either being a client or a coach or training, everything considered. And mentoring, sitting in terms of other people, triads and other things. So first 1,000 hours. So I knew the system to some extent, saying there's a lot of loopholes in the system. I, at that point of time, I didn't know what a good ACC would look like. I was an ACC, but then am I a good ACC? In terms of ACCs, I don't know. Because everybody has a different way of understanding. And these are my needs that were not met. And there was no place people were doing demos consistently. And there were no place where they were getting mentored consistently. There were places where they were getting mentored, but then there were no place where I was giving a demo. And here I thought I could do a demo and start putting it, start bringing people together. And by then I had already gotten in touch with about 800 coaches in that 1 year, and maybe more. Right. And I said, and somehow it just stuck. And I, for a long time, was part of something called the Tribe of Poets first on Instagram, in my first innings as an Instagrammer. And they took down the page for something else, and I somehow always stuck to have a tribe. And there's a tribe of poets which I now also run, and then came TOC. So it just settled, like Nima Coach, tribe of coaches, everything settled. And I, for the longest time, was saying no to this, and I said yes to this one. And within 4 days, we had 40 coaches who signed up for it. And I said, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I want to build a community for coaches. It has networking, it has learning, it has peer coaching, it has consistent learning sessions. I don't know how I will be able to do it, but if you're ready to bank on it and be a part of another WhatsApp group, of the millions of WhatsApp that groups you're part of, you come. And seeing 40 was wow, and I was like crazy. And then it just built on one strength after the other. And it comes from a space of me contributing to a system of coaching. I think I have accumulated some bit of knowledge on the ground, and therefore I am ready to contribute to others. And that's how it got. And the more confident I got, I knew that I had It was not, I think I can contribute, I know I can contribute. And coaching as an overall ecosystem has to look at moving out of a competition mindset to a collaboration mindset. Can we do it together? And that was also a space to build TOC. And slowly it became a random day in the week. Suddenly I would decide today is going to be like that. And then it became Mondays only. And then Monday 7 p.m. we settled to it. And then ICW happened. We got coaches from different parts of the world coming in. And I think the largest segment is referral segment. So people have come, people have found value, they send a friend along, and that's how we gone up to 350. And for me, the number is excellent, but I think in 350, some have come, some have left, some continue to stay, some are dormant, but then they stay for the ideology of it, or sometimes they don't want to exit my WhatsApp group and write to me after that. I don't know. But then I think that joy of being a part of a community is built through all of us. I know at times I'm the protagonist. I know at times I have the not so easy job of saying don't post this here. It's self promotion, and so each need has been dealt with differently. So some coaches said we can't coach young coaches. So how do we work with young coaches? So we made a group for only the first 25 hours, the first 50 hours. Then people are open to coach any level. So that's another WhatsApp group. And then all of us now want to be on LinkedIn. So there was a flurry of messages on about LinkedIn. Now we made another group saying, hey, you know what, you're free to post your LinkedIn content there and not on the main group. So again, a little bit of engineering, a little bit of experience of building communities from different places. All of them came to be. And I think I am, I swell with pride when, anybody goes or meets me in places and uh, they recognize me and I have a problem that I don't recognize them well because most of the times they're off video and I know their name and I know their voice. But in person, when I have to look at it, they will come running and saying, "Hi Sunil, how are you?" I'm like, I know this voice, but I'm not able to place the face. Right? So that's a good kind of a problem to have. But I think TOC has been an excellent space altogether.
And what future do you see for Tribe of Coaches?
It is an evolving segment. I think last year we had quite a lot of plans, and the future is to be consistent, be authentic, be who we are, and maybe offer something more to our coaches in terms of more pro bono hours that they can build, maybe conversations with NGOs that we can build and stuff like that. So yeah, something like that. That is what I'm seeing. And each and every person that I've worked with, each and every person that I'm speaking with, and the deal is that almost everybody that is part of the TOC at some point of time has had a one-to-one conversation with me, and that's when they are part of that. So there's a personal rapport that's also built with people. And I think mostly the future is to continue this because this is something that takes effort, something that takes energy, sometimes that take enthusiasm, and to manage that itself is a process. So yeah, I think TOC for me, my goals with TOC are to make it a community where it's a single point of contact for anything coaching.
One thing about TOC that still strike me as interesting is something that I even wanted to ask earlier. You mentioned about anybody can be my client. I can
Mm.
coach anybody. And you doing that demo coaching
Mm.
um, just randomly, impromptu, that too in live sessions. Like one person volunteers and you say, yeah, I'll coach. How did you gain that experience or how did you gain that skill in such a level that you can say like, yeah, randomly you will say like, you come our coach. Even if it is a mentoring session, I remember you has to be you have to appear as a mentor. Still, if someone was not there, you say, yeah, then I will coach without even any planning. You just randomly go into being that coach, that too on a live space.
Yeah, so a lot of them have the life as a big stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's okay if somebody finds out that I've had a bad day as a coach. I'm not a good coach in their point of view, and I know that in that space I have something to work with. I'm constantly testing myself as a coach. I'm constantly pushing the boundaries of what is my coaching abilities and blind spots. And that's the reason to do that. And secondly, like how many of them actually get to see a live coaching demo, right? And then quite a lot of them are on YouTube. Quite a lot of them come from different cultures. They may not be something that's relevant for us. And I also come with that space that my deal is that I'm the approachable coach, right? And it makes it easier. Okay, Sunil is doing it. I'm also able to do it. If a like a damn good experienced coach, no hair, white hair, international coach is doing it. Sometimes like, oh wow, that is great validation. Yes, I'm also doing something similar. But for you to replicate it, how else can you do it? And how can you sit with it live and sit and understand that? So that's the reason to also sit with the live sessions. And I love doing it. It's come from a space of absolute passion. And I remember telling people saying, even if the biggest presidents of the of organizations and countries come to me and say, Sunil, tomorrow you're going to be my coach. I'm like, oh yeah, you are another person. Your roles, titles, and everything is important, but that's not why you have come to me. And why am I your coach? And I'm not your coach because you're an executive somewhere else. I'm not your coach because you're XYZ. I am a coach and you're a client. It's that simple basics. And sometimes I don't tend to overcomplicate stuff. And therefore, simplicity is the easiest segment. Now, in a coaching session live with international people, national people, local people looking at it, uh, the max they're going to look at it is Sunil is not a great coach. This perfect fodder for good improvement later on. They find that Sunil is a good coach. Excellent. But if they find in either of those two something that they will improve for themselves and say, hey, I think this is a space that needs work. My job as a coach and the facilitator of TOC is done. So that's the space. So can coaches who are looking at it look at it and say, hey, I got something out of it.
So, being in Tribe of Coaches, I had the opportunity to attend two of the conferences of that was inaugurated or conducted by you. What's the future of it? When's the next conference happening?
So that's a good question. The conference also, quite a lot of things happen in TOC, right? So the week every Monday segment there is that, and then core competency discussion, live demo, live mentoring, Q&A, guest speakers, keeping it interesting with networking conversations. So everything happens. The ICW is one where multiple sessions happen. There is the anniversary which is happening on in the August segment. There's also a conference. It's an online conference made accessible to all coaches in the ICF world right now, but then possibly at some point of time accessible to non-ICF coaches, people who want to become ICF coaches, want to become coaches in the first place. I think that's there. This time, year three, conference three, the plan is to help build some experience and say some facilitation around people who want to transition to coaching full time or even half time. So how do we help that? So that's what we are doing. So new coaches is what we done last time. The first time we did something, it was an experimental segment, and then second time we did it, it was some more of interesting segment. Third is going to be around how do you transition to coaching as a business full time. So that's going to be a full day or it's an 8 hour or a 4 hour split segment. Hopefully by October end or November beginning. So that's when we want to do it. And it's an online thing open for all ICF coaches. And if you're a member of TOC, by then maybe a little bit of additional perks, get access to older videos as well. So something like that is being planned. So yeah, and it's exciting, and and a lot of times I don't know what's going to emerge. That emerges maybe just about 2 3 weeks before that comes there, and it gets added into the equation of what we've already planned. So yeah, that's the thing, to conference-itize it, and to also, like, the big conferences happen as part of chapters, happen because of some big organization is doing it. The plan is to break that, saying, hey, you know what, I think I have wisdom to talk about it. And maybe you have wisdom to talk about it. And maybe going forward, it could be a place where others could also come talk about their experience, expertise, and stuff. So I think that's a long way to road ahead in terms of the conferences, and it's an evolving process. So let's see where it goes. And Govind, I also want to just be conscious of your time and my time. So I may have another 5 to 6 minutes more in here. So I am, as a coach, also worried about the timing of this segment and maintaining time. So that competency is also kicked off. But yeah, over to you for maybe one or two questions.
So, being the member of tribe of coaches, even I'm curious about this to hear from you. There are a lot of conferences, if you look into it, which is happening offline in a specific venue. Some are like international people coming over. Like if you look into the hypnosis community, there is like Hypnothoughts Live, which is like the biggest um, conference, hypnosis conference, and people all over the world are coming to attend this. When is a conference like this happening for the tribe of coaches? What future do you see for
Oh,
that?
wow, super. You will have to make me less lazy around it, or you'll have to bring yourself into this equation where you do it in Kerala, or say in Bangalore, now that you also part of this, or any other part of the world. I am a very lazy fellow when it comes to arranging, the venue, all that. And online is my fastest, easiest, highest level of accessibility, easiest to build on it. Offline, good question, Govind. I don't know if I have an answer to you right away. Soon in the future, sometime, I think that's where I will park those answers. I know, I understand the power of an in-person meet, the joy it has. But for now, it's still online. Accessibility right now is our first motto. But maybe we can do something. We can think something in Bangalore. So I've always had people, like even friends and family and everywhere else, they've come to our house, and extremely high frequency coming to our house. And we going to our houses, them inviting to their houses have been general lower frequency. Um, so usually people come over to where I am, and because I'm lazy to travel, so that's that's also their deal. But I think sometime soon, let's think about it now that you put the idea in my head.
So it's good to have this conversation with you, Sunil. Hoping to have more conversation with you in the near future, and hoping to see this conference happen, like this international conference. Let's see what we can do. Even I think more people in the community are interested in contributing to making it an offline conference and making it a huge one. Thank you, Sunil. Thank you for this time that you take away from your day to create this conversation with me.
I'll answer that close. Right. So I love the thanks. I love the acknowledgement. I am genuinely smiling and laughing at that. Saying you don't take away time, right? So you give in to time. So whenever somebody asks, saying what should take away from this, it's suddenly like there's a big ocean. I have to go only take chunks out of it. But if whatever I were to take in something, I already have something, and then I'm taking it from somewhere and taking it in, rather than taking out of something. So it's not subtracted from somewhere, but rather added into something. So I think for me, every conversation is a take in, a part of what makes my life, my day, more meaningful, more graceful. And I don't think I see other people in my space, in my segment, enjoying life as I do. They have a different sense of enjoyment. I have a different one. They've chosen this segment, and for me, it's not that I have chosen something out of a busy schedule, but rather I've chosen to include something in my busy schedule. So I'd say you've done a good job in making sure I am involved in this one, and kudos to you. And hopefully, there'll be more podcasts like this, and I'm sure at some point of time there'll be more to talk about.
Thank you, Sunil. Thank you so much.
Thank you.